Okay, so here we go. This one is about covenants. So, um, coven is the root of covenant, and a coven is a group or meeting of witches. It comes from Covin, Covin. So you can see that en to in, the vowels are interchangeable. And so, coven uh, grammatically comes from the Latin word convenere. This is going to go somewhere. It's got to do with births, deaths, and marriages and everything else. And so that means harmonise, to tally, to meet, to have sex, to sue, take legal action. So it sounds like um, a meeting place for rituals and money and transactions and sacrifices. So while we're all at the footy playing football, we know they're in Parliament in Queensland passing 125 new acts, which is what Romney said in the Just in Interception. So are they in these fucking temples, doing that shit as well? Because a coven comes from Coven, which comes from convenere, which means harmonise, tally. Harmonise is prayer, tally is counting, to meet, to have sex, to sue, and to take legal action. That sounds like the fucking court to me. So, and then the English word is the highest form, said to be the highest form of law. Now, the Bible is a covenant between God and man. Well, we know God is the royal family because ROY means Un Roi, Un Foi, Un Loi, one God, one faith, one law. So Roy is God, and Ale in Hebrew, which is the root of the Latin, the French, and the Greek, is Almighty. So Royal means God Almighty. I call him Goyim. Right? I mean, I don't call him Kalev in Hebrew because that's a dog, and dogs are fantastic. And dog's an anagram of God anyway. So what happens is you've got a covenant, which is said to be a restriction. And so you engage with someone, en in English law, and all the way back to Samaria, through all of the dialects, the civitases. En means Lord, gauge means a pledge. So enlightened means Lord of light. So we basically using these words. We don't know the meanings of them. But when you learn the root, the prefix, the root, and the suffix, or the root, and then the first person, second person, and then tense, then you start to comprehend how simple this system really is. So you got these people buying, I know one bloke's bought 25 dictionaries, and after I explain that they're how to look up a word in Latin, you get these really good dictionaries that are really old, and they just give you the first part or the middle part or the last part of the meaning of the word deduced from its original, because it's all copyright. You can't change copyright; it's patented. Right, so anything that's written, like there was a lexicographer working for Webster's Dictionary. In my last channel, I wrote this woman. I did a clip on her and put her name down. I said, this woman's an idiot. She's writing down what the word's meaning is in the common usage and not what its real meaning is. That's why you need a legal dictionary, because that gives you the actual meaning of the word. And because you're just babbling on, that's what they call it, Babylon. Baby long time. L-O-N is the root of L-O-N-G. So now we've got coven, is convenere, is the root of covenant, which is said to be the highest form of law, but it's actually a restriction. It's a pledge to God. And then covenant means covenant means a contradiction. So basically, coven is tally, meet, have sex, surety, sue, and take legal action. And so a coven is a group of witches, and that's the occult. And covenant, to mark, to show the mark, to show the to write down, to make syntax, is a contradiction of what the covenant's about, because it's all spoken and hidden. So T is the mark, is the alphabet, is the grammar. So then you've got coven and covenant and convere, and and so Coven is to have all these things happen in a particular meeting place, and then ANT is the performance up. So covenant means the place to perform harmonics, tallying, meeting, having sex, suing, and legal action. So is that their safe place? Because no one goes. Have you ever heard anyone breaking into a court at night in the history of courts? I've never ever heard anyone breaking into a court at night. I'm looking at the wrong camera. And so then you look at the word performance. Now we know the word perish means to die badly. It issues people, and per means to die. And so then you got performance. I'm going for hours on all the words, but I've got a little script here. So per means death, for means future, man is us, and CE is SEA is SEE is the sea. So dead, future, man, sea. And so that gives you the idea of the manifestation of the term civilly dead. Now CI means energy, VI means a force, and L is the shepherd. So it's energy and force of the shepherd. And then you've got evil is energy and force of the shepherd. And then your good is G is the return, O is the eye, and D is the doorway. G is also said to be phonetically man speaking because G is the shape of the head with the tongue coming out. So I'm staying on covenant, I'm staying on performance. This is all going to tie in. So now we have the word yes and no. So make your yays yays and your nays nays. Anything other this cometh of evil. Energy and force of the shepherd. And so Yay is said to be the first three letters of the word Yahshua, which is part of the anagram or the glyph of Jesus or Jesus, which is the first part of the word Satan, or Saturn, I should say. And so that's Yah, and then Way was the followers of Yeshua. And so Yah and Way is the tetragrammaton mentioned in the B.A.R Bible that I've got sitting behind me as printed, unabridged version printed in 1963. And so now you've got the word yes and no being used instead of yay and nay. And so yes and no backwards is no is O-N, on, and S-E-Y is C. So you're saying, when you use the word on and no, you're saying on the sea. So we've gone from covenant, coven to coven to convener to covenants to covet. And then we've got performance, and we've gone to sea. And now we're going to go to, so JC walked, just real quick, JC walked on water, means he walked on the sea. Moses means out of the sea. Ark of the Covenant means the ship's meeting, or the ship's practices. Mary means the sea. Parent, birth, and child all mean abandoned, meaning the sea. And ships is an anagram of hips. So the ship gave birth to the person, and I've spoken about this before. So now let's move on to central bank. This is all going to tie in. So CE is the sea, N is energy and the snake, T is the mark, and AL is almighty. Right? So CENT is also 10, yeah? And 10 is X, and X signifies earth in the Kemetic alphabet, and AL means God. So central, CENT is earth, signified by 10, which is signified by X. R is man, and AL is God. So it's basically earth, man, God. So central means earth, man, God. Now bank is BANK, is BAN, is BAND, and a band is a brand. So a band with a number is a brand, is a name, is a number, is a bank. Because a bank stores the entries of the names of the NUM in the debt ledger. And so if you deal with the bank, you're saying you're civilly dead, right? And so technically, from what I can work out, you're supposed to deal with Treasury and supposed to deal with the Land Titles Office, right? But it's all under occupation, so it's all based on fraud and fiction and murder. Now, you've got B.A.N.D, B.R.A.N.D, B.A.N.K, and so D is a doorway, which is a porthole, and you've got they deal with hue, mans. Hue is the colour of, man is man. Then you've got through the negative perspective. So husband, so band, brand, bank. BAN is the root. It means to control and to store. BAN, band, to control. Band is a collar, is a chain, is a leash. Brand is the ownership, and bank is where you store those entries. And so then you got human, which is a person, is a corporation, which is the artifice of man, his construct, his facere, his identitas, which means the created persona, the character. It's fiction. And so now you've got husband, HU is low, again, the colour of, because I'm the natural and the picture of me is the artificial, so it's a lower form. So some people might not agree, but anyway. So you've got husband, HU is low, force, the colour of, S is the force, and BAND, low force of the band. Yeah? So husband means low force of the band, low force of a contract, because you married, Mar is the harm, Mar is the sea, and ED is past tense, and then you become regulated by and registered to the bank, because the bank is the court, because the first Supreme Court was called the Banco Court, which is Italian for bank, which means bench, which is where the moneylenders first started trading in the Renaissance period in the Jewish ghetto, which was given permission by the Pope. Can't remember his name, you have to forgive me. So then, and then the High Court, the Liberal Party court, they own it, sees David Walter and his documents. And the first High Court was passed by the Judicature Act in 1903, you can Google it, and it was called the Banco Court, and it was created in Victoria. So now you know that the covenant is a restriction, is a coven, is a contract. Yes and no means on the sea. Then you got central bank, which means earth, man, God. And then you've got bank is a brand, is a bank, is a band, as a husband, is registered and regulated for the bank, which is the court, which is the registrar, because they probate your estate, which is your all capital name. It's not you. They're fucking engaged in slavery by holding you because you haven't discharged the fictitious debt. And there is no debt because there is no money, because money is gold and silver. So they've conscripted you into their society. It's called civil conscription. Civil conscription, and it's called state capture. So now you're in the situation where they say you're mentally ill because you're discovering it, but you can't speak it. You don't know the dialect correctly, and you're stumbling through, but you're right, and you're heading in the right direction, but you're staggering over the line, and you're not walking the straight path. So it's all a metaphor, you know. And so now they need to control your mind. They need to just take you. So I'm looking over here, what I should be looking over here. Right? I'm looking at the screen. It's a bit hard to stare at a green LED. So I've got a big screen here. And so what we got going on is they need to move you and steer you. And that's why you have movie and stars. Because MOV is to motion, is to move, is energy in motion, is emotion, because E is the energy of man, and motion is the motive, yeah? Is the direction. And so if you put it in English, and the English translator comes up as the ego in Latin. So movie is to move the ego, to motivate. Oh wow, I'd love to be like that. I want to be a star. I want because everyone wants to be loved, and they show that. And so you're giving your love to them. Please God, every night you go to bed and you go, please God, I wish I could. And you're fucking entering in. Please to speak LEASE. You're entering into contracts with the royal family. You're empowering them with your energy. If you want to pray to someone, pray to me, and I'll give it straight back to you. I won't steal it from you. It might sound a bit, egotistical, but I give back what I get. Someone helps me out, I'm your number one fan. Right, so they take it and then they piss on you at the same time, which is basically what I'm trying to say. So they create movies and stars. And star comes from steer, because starboard in Old English comes from steerboard. And so the ship rudder would be on the right-hand side of the ship. So when they pull into port on the left side, they unload on the left side. All the rigging was set up on the left side to unload off the left side, right? And that's where the debtor is. He pays before the cargo gets unloaded. And once the payment or the paper's been received, then he starts unloading. And then the creditor, the captain, the governor, the helmsman sits on the ship up high. And so that's the exchequer, that's the king, that's the magistrate, and his ship is his country, is his land. Right? It's his metaphorical land on the sea, because without his land, his ship, he drowns. And so they create movies and stars to steer your ego, your mind, to drive you. But their shit doesn't work on me. I mean, I like to watch a movie to something interesting, but now I only want to watch stuff that gives me expansion on the realm, the government, or the mental angle of their construct. And so now you've got movie star is to move and steer. Yeah. So then they get you to sing. These movie stars, they want to get you to sing. It's not sing, it's singer. It's singer, S-I-N-G. So singing is sin-ing. And so then you sin and you sign, S-I-G, and G is silent before N in Latin. So sign is sin, and it's all cursive. They get you to curse yourself. Yeah, the curfew. You're the cur, and they want as few of you on the streets. So now that when the police come at you with their debt speak, which are jurisdiction, juris comes from eos, which means to bind, and diction is to speak. So their binding speak is English. Are you the owner? Well, owe means that means owe is the root of own, so it means you owe a debt. Are you the resident? It means you're slave, so you're the resident identifying entity. You're the citizen, you're the sea, it, zen. Right, so you're the sea, people, zen, conditioned state of mind. You're stuck on the ship. Right? They need to control your mind to restrict the parameters. Right, so now that you understand that when the police speak to you, they're swearing. Just take the vowels out, S-W-R, S-W-E-A-R, swearing. They're swearing. And they're forcing you to contract with him. Well, they're forcing you into slavery. So they say you must reply. You must comply. Right? He's not replying, so he must comply. Yeah? Ply means to bind. That's a contract. Because juris means bind. Law means to bind. It all means bind. It means contract. And so when you don't and swear, you're not swearing. You must and swear. Because they're forcing you, so they're forcing you to speak back in their debt speak. So because they're forcing you, you're and swearing, and you're not doing it by your free will. And they've been programmed to swear because the paper is the papa, right, the father of man, and it manifests the fucking psychosis in their brain where you believe that this paper is a representation of the ownership of the entire continent called Australia. And it's all created by the City of London. The Commonwealth of Australia, or the Government of Australia, in brackets Commonwealth of Australia, which means not the Commonwealth of Australia, is literally the property of the United States. It's a citizen, territory, property, ship, a vessel, a person. It registered in part and holds the United States. And the United States Incorporated is a bankruptcy administration registered to Dun & Bradstreet. And the United States of America from 1776 is actually registered, might be 1779 or 1776, is actually registered to the City of London. And then I think one of the amendments says the king is the fucking king of America. So then they hit you with Europe, this word that, who come up with the word Europe? Who came up with the word Europe? And so you think of EU, and I looked up EU, and it means good, and R-O-P-E. Yeah, so good, God, speak, the energy of man. So that's phonetically broken down a bit. But EU is Y-O-U and R-O-P-E. You is the debtor. They've got the rope around you for the name. We identify with the name. Now I'll go to name, and you won't believe this, but nam signifies to come from the Dutch word neem men, N-E-M-M-E-N, men is the mind, nem is no. It signifies in our common law the taking or apprehending of another man's movable goods. So when you name it under their magic, they can come and take it. And this nam was anciently called ether vith, or mort, quick, or dead, accordingly as such was made of dead and quick chattels. So you're the civilly dead, and your chattel is your property, your movable property. And so you go back to JC, said let the dead bury the dead, and then so he was an agent of Rome, and then you go to civilly dead in English law, and then you go civilly dead House resolution. I can't remember the House resolution, but it was done in 1967, and it said a citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity in a co-trustee of the public beneficiary, blah blah blah, and so they've got everyone identifying as you, and English is you is the speaker of the jurisdiction of the debt speak, and it's taught in maritime, it's taught in aviation, and you have to speak English to communicate. It's the one language where all countries use. So it's the manifestation of a psychosis. Now, I want to throw in the word Niger, which is the root of negro, which is the root of the Nigger, the word you're not supposed to say. And so that is actually, I'll do that on another clip. No, I'll leave that alone. So I'm going to talk about, expand where I'm going. So I've covered covenant, I've covered yes, I've covered central bank, I've covered movie stars, I've covered singing, sign. So now I'm going to talk about the dove, right? So the dove associated with the lunar feminine goddess. The white crescent moon looks like a dove. The queen of the heaven is said to be the moon goddess. So the dove is a representation of the queen of heaven, the moon goddess, the white crescent moon. So then you've got the falcon, which is the male solar god Horus. Now I'm sticking to the goddess and not touching Horus, right? Because I'm not a poof. No, I'm kidding. So the word dove is associated with column in the French language, which is the basis for English, and then French is derived from the Latin. And so, column, queen of heaven, queen is a corporation soul or soul corporation, and heaven is above, and hell is a place under the exchequer's chamber where the king's debtors were confirmed. So you've got heaven, which is the private, which is the living, and I think, from what I've been told, like Deborah Bentley, a handler for the government, who's an ecclesiastical notary, which works for the church, notary public, she basically said you've got to register your name with the Land Titles Office. Now, she said a lot of cryptic things without laying down the structure, and they'll just give you one bit over time and try and give you enough to get you to bite. And so by registering your name with the Land Titles Office, that's your vessel in commerce, that's your ship, that means they can't touch it. Because they're claiming it's an abandoned vessel, so they keep fucking going after it and shaking the tree because the executor has to harass and menace, and you're the tree, the fig tree, and they want to shake the fruit out of the fucking tree. And so they're in heaven because they've got control of their estate, their named estate. And hell, like I said, is the place beneath the exchequer's chamber. Now, Columbus, column means the dove, which means the queen of heaven, which the queen of heaven is there. A bus means port. So Columbus means queen of heaven, port. So you've got to dock your vessel, your maritime vessel, your all caps name, your agent in commerce, your vessel in commerce, because it's in all caps, which means it's a trust or a corporation, and you've got to dock your vessel with the Land Titles Office to fucking register your ship to say stay the fuck away from it. Now Gregory John Tudorhope, he's registered his ship with the higher Land Titles Office, which is the SEC in the District of Columbia, in New York I should say, but he hasn't migrated it here to the PPSR, to Australia, and so they took it anyway, and that's what someone said to me. So maritime, so the Queen of Heaven is a port, is maritime. The King is a corporation of the land, and the ship is a queen is lost at sea. So if you follow me so far, I've covered covenant, coven, performance, per is dead, for is future, man, sea. You've got yes and no, backwards is on the sea. You've got merci, which is French for thank you. Mer is immerse, submerse, and ci is ce, is sea. And then you got Latin, you got CC. And I've covered JC, walk the water, central bank. I've covered sing, is sin. I've covered Europe. I've covered the dove. which is where I looked for Columbus for ages. I could not find the meaning and origin of the word Columbus. Co means two. Lum. I couldn't. I thought it was LON, but I couldn't get it. Couldn't work it out. So the white dove on the Visa card is the Queen of Heaven, is the maritime law, is the bank, is the court, is the port. It's and hell is the below the exchequer, and heaven is above it, which is the creditor. And so you've got starboard, which is steerboard. Star means to steer. The Magi's were astrologers, so they follow the stars because the stars steer them. Have I got the wrong sheet here? No, I have. I've chucked in the wrong sheet. And so what happens is now you've got column, which means Queen of Heaven, which is French. And so column is code for Queen of Heaven. Queen is a sole corporation. Heaven is a private. So it's the corporation of the private. And hell is the debtors, which is below the exchequer. And then and you're registered to the bank. I'm going to cover registry now and the bank. And so Christopher Columbus, Christos, Christ means the anointed, the marked. Comes from Messiah, which means the marked, and you messiate or messianate someone before they go into war and battle as a sacrifice. And so Christ means the marked. Christo, O is the I. PHER is the O is the I, and cipher. CY is CI is energy of the mind. Cipher. PH is force, energy of man. So Christopher is the mark of the cipher, and Columbus, column is queen, and bus is a port. So Christopher Columbus is code in their language for mark, the cipher, Queen of Heaven, port. All right, I'll expand on that in a second. You see Mark, Mary, Mar is the sea, M-A-R-K, the mark, anointing, Messiah, M-O-S-E-S means the sea, M-A-R is the sea, M-A-R-K is the mark of the sea. And so the mark is Saturn, cipher, corporation, soul, heaven of the private port. Right? And then from there we go, from Christopher Columbus, we'll go to the British Accredited Registry. So B.A.R, British is an anagram of births. Credit is having the cash, the money. Accredit is it's the antithesis. It's a prefixation of a state. So I've got gold. The prefix or every prefix is the antithesis of. They'll say, oh, no, it means before. Before you had it means you don't have it. So pre means before, pri means first before this point in time. So this is when I've got the money. This is before that time because it's first. It's all negative. So British Accredited Registry is births, debt, no fact. So British is births, right, with an extra I. You count in school, and then you taught accounting because it's all negative state because we're dealing in debt. So births, debt, and registry. Re means no. Gist in law is a fact. Google it, Black's Law. And so when you have no fact, they become king because re just means king. And so if you look up Confucia in Latin, it translates to master in English because if I confuse you, I become the master. So now you've got British. I get bogged down in this one. So British Accredited Registry means births, deaths, no fact, right? And it's births, deaths, registry. And what do they register? Okay, they births accredited registry of names and entries in the debt ledger, because the British Accredited Registry deals with names. Attached to something is the dead chattel and movable property of the dead, the slaves. And the living has the rights over the dead because it's a thing. And so the name, the birth, is the abandonment because you've got parent means abandoned, birth means abandoned, child means they abandoned. So then you've got the abandonment. The name comes from nam, which signifies the taking or apprehending of another man's movable goods, which I think we already read. known as ether vi or mort or quick or the dead, as it were quick or dead chattels. Civilly dead. JC walked on the sea, which he was in the private. He wasn't down low. So AU is high, AG is silver, PB is lead. AU, Thor is their god, I is people. People are God most high, authority. Then you've got agent, entity, AG silver. So it's a higher entity than PB is lead, which is the lower entity, and they put you, your vessel, inside the PB, which is the lead, is the dead. And so they insert the vowels and the consonants in to create, like the word freedom comes from, if you Google it and go to the origin, it comes from license and liberty and license, which means maritime. So freedom comes from maritime, and fee is the root of, is the word. And they put R inside fee, which creates the word free. So it's taxable man, taxed by fee, by the dominion of the Lord and Master. So then you've got Mary land. So you've got, just to give you an idea, this is how they work. So you've got Maryland, and then District of Columbia, which is district is a feudal land of the king, ship, vessel, and its dis means no, and STR is a body, and ICT is a conditional state. So it's all fiction. And so you've got Maryland, Columbia, and Virginia. Mary is the sea, land is the ship. Right, so Maryland, Mar is the sea, land is the ship. I'm not making this up. And then you got Column, which is dove, which means the Queen in heaven, which is a sole corporation, and the Queen is in charge of the Admiralty. So Queen, sole corporation signifies the Admiralty, which is the sea. And then you got Virginia. VI means force, R is man, and Jinn is the demon. And IA, I can't remember what IA was. I think it was BIA is the living, and IA, I just can't remember offhand. So then you've got, so Maryland is ships, sea ship, and the ship's called Ter, is Earth. Columbia is Queen, Heaven, Life. I've written it down, sorry. And then Virginia is force, man, Jinn, state. IA is a state, condition of state. So then you have a certified, so we're still on birth, deaths and marriages, and I was just tying in how you've got the meaning of these words. So you've got Maryland, Columbia, and Virginia. Then you go to, because the jinn is the demon, is the possession by the paper. My nephew said the other day, or a while ago, he said the dog jumped up on the chair and the dog's trying to elevate its social status. I was like, well, fuck it, it's a dog. Well, it's interested in its food and companionship and a bit of love. The dog just wanted to get closer to the food. But they get taught social status, right? A rank in our society. He doesn't recognise that it's talking about the fucking military, right? So I think you must have watched the clip because I was in the fucking shop the other day and his sister didn't say hello to me. Anyway, so the British Accredited Registry only deals with legalities, and the legal establishment deals in certificates, instruments, and bonds, and warranties, which is a warrant, and guarantees, which is a garant, and a guarantor, and they deal in derivatives, and if you look on the type in a 1974 British birth certificate, or 1978 British birth certificate, it says certified copy of an entry, and a certificate is evidence. A certificate has a QSIP. The key word is which is a Committee on Uniform Securities and Identification Procedure. And the key word is, I read this the other day, security is a paper certificate that attests to an ownership and an equity, as in the case of a stock, or an ownership of a bond, as in the case of a debt obligation, which has a tradable derivative, which means it can be sold on the stock market. So basically, a certificate of copy of an entry in a debt ledger, and the registry is saying there's a debt, and you go into the court as a debtor, the magistrate sits as the honourable, because he's discharging his debt with his birth certificate, and he's claimed his vessel, his name, through the Land Titles Office, and so British accredited registry is the Births Debt No Fact, or the Births Debt King's Registry of an entry in a debt ledger, and that attests to the ownership of the name and technically the body, because they're joining it too, which is committing of slavery, and that's why they're starting the war against the white man, because the white man's the only fucker smart enough to wake up to this shit. Black fellas are still talking about, oh look, we're the real kings of Egypt, and all the fucking Egyptian megaliths were all constructed and like back in the fucking back in the day by there's pictures of cranes lifting the heads in and all kinds of shit, and they're going, we're the Jesus is black and all this kind of shit, and I'm not saying it's, I don't know the history. I know history's a lie. The Tartarian Empire is not mentioned in history. The Great Mud Flood's not entered. So they're talking about the history that we know to be fake, and then you got the Tartarian Empire, the star forts. We got all the sciences going on. You got tensor rings. You got, people will say, how does wrapping a copper ring around that's continuous without linkage? How can wrapping copper around your leg or your waist or your neck do anything? That's just insane. But we wrap copper around in a certain geometric way and then run an electric current through it, and it moves trains, it moves vehicles. A grinder will run forever. And so that there's this disconnect of what things are. People are just fucking stupid. Oh, you fucker. Still going? Oh, still going. I thought it cut out, sorry. And so there's this disconnect. Now, we know we have a torus field. We know that when we die, we emit 240 watts of energy. That's 460 watt light bulbs over 4 hours. The Russians measured it in photonic energy. And we know that we weigh about 18, just our energy in our life weighs about 18 grams. And so they measure the energy, then there's the moisture coming out of the body, the cooling out of the body. It drops in weight. And so they put tensor rings around cut plants, and apparently for 21 days the plant doesn't wither. And so that plant has an energy field, and it's still technically sort of surviving on the water, but slowly dies because it's not getting the right inputs. And the tensor ring, it's like it deflects the ability for that energy to move out of the vessel, to wither. And so I'm not saying that's true, but that's their main goal, is to wither us. The RF radiation, the fucking fluoride, the fucking titanium dioxide in your soap. I mean, Google soap. It's fucking it's lye and fat, either vegetable fat or animal fat. Go and look up Dove soap. Go and look up fucking palm olive soap. There's 50 chemicals there. Soap that you've been sold is not soap by definition of the word fucking soap. They're selling you poison. Soy in Arnott's biscuits. And we just start doing liens on the shareholders and the chief scientist and the financial chief financial officer for fucking Arnott's biscuits, because they're putting a registered pesticide into the food. You got soy has to be fucking fermented for 4 years in Japan. And so the chemists came along and used chemicals to ferment it in 3 months. But then you got the chemical derivatives in it. So they're putting raw soy in your food. And you wonder why you get a pimple on your nose and you get anyway, I'm going off topic. So what's going on is Mary, because remember, we're talking about the covenant here. We're talking about the covenant, the performance, yes, the central bank, the sign, the sin, the queen, the queen corporation, the heaven and hell, the registry, the debt, the entry in the debt ledger. We're talking about, I hate going off topic, sorry. The certificate, the birth certificate is an entry in a debt ledger, but it's an entry, but they don't finish it off. An entry in what? In a debt ledger. And so then you look at the biblical Mary holding the Jesus, which is the symbol of Jesus is Jesus, is Yeshua, is Yah and Way, and Jesus is the I am. He says, I am the I am. And he says, I am the way. Way is the gods. They're like part of our DNA that's missing. And so Jesus is a representation of Saturn. And so Mary, the sea, is holding Saturn, and Saturn, the sun, sits above the sea, in the sea of time, sea, or space. And it's the red sun. Look on the MasterCard, you've got the red sun behind the white sun. And so Mary in the statues, in the paintings, she's holding Jesus up from the Satan, and she's standing standing above the serpent. So the serpent, I looked it up, means to creepeth, means lay, means the reptilian part of the brain, because we're either going to fight you or we're going to flight, we're going to run. So then it's part of the brain fight or flight. I've already written it down. Mary the Sea stands above the serpent, stands above the naturals, the RH positive, holding Jesus. I just said it and I just read it out. Isis, Yeshua, the RH negative. So the RH negative stands above the RH positive, and the sea separates Saturn from mankind. And I've got it written there. As I am is the sigil of Saturn. So then you go to Visa. VI means the force. Sa is their god in demonic. Sean Ross showed me that on his clip. He didn't show me, but it was on his clip. So the force of God. And God is the grantor of dominion, which is the paperwork, and they control the money. And then you go to MasterCard. So mast is the ship's mast they crucified JC on. It sits on above the sea. Car means to burn, and D is the doorway. Right, so ship's mast, burn the door, burn the with the two suns on it. So that was just to give you an idea. So to sum it up, if you're still with me, so you've got Coven is a witches group. It comes from Coven, which is convenere, which means heart. It's crazy, this convenere in Latin. It means there's like 3 lines, but I just took out the most descriptive words. So harmonise, to tally, so count, to meet, to have sex, to sue, and to take legal action. So that's convenere, which comes from covenant, which comes from Coven. And then I covered performance. Per means to die. For means future man, see. And then yes and no is backwards on the sea. You've got Mercy and CC. Then you've got central bank. Cent is 10. R is man. AL is God. So it's earth, man, God, which is the banker. And then bank is band is brand. As hue is the colour of. As hue man is Huz force band. Is a low force band mark. It registered with the versus the marriages with the state, which is a bank, which is the court, which is a slave trading house connected to the underworld because it's an atrium, and the root atrium is atri. Then you go to movie star, which is to move and to steer. And then you've got sing and singing and sign and sin and by sin, essence is matter. And then you've got you and rope, yeah, they're controlling you, Europe. And you've got the white crescent, the dove, the queen of heaven, the goddess, the dove associated with the lunar feminine. So the dove is the queen of heaven. They get us to sacrifice the dove, the spirit, our own goddess, our own fucking God essence. And then so the queen of heaven sits above, which is the private, which is the corporation soul. And then you got hell, which is a place under the exchequer. I'm just doing a quick wrap up. And then so the queen of heaven is a port. It's a maritime. King is a corporation on the land. Queen is lost at sea. And then you've got Christopher Columbus, which is Mark Cipher, the Queen of Heaven port. Mark is Christ. Ophir is Cipher. Column is Queen, Heaven. And bus is a serial port. It's a bus. It's where you plug it in. So you got the B.A.R, British Credit Registry, which is the birthage, debt, no fact. Regis means king. And then they British Credit Registry of Names, which is the entry in a debt ledger. It's the abandonment for the name, for the name, signifieth the ledger or the apprehending of another man's movable goods or property, signified as ether, vi, or mort, quick or the dead, as it's where the quick or the dead chattels, civilly dead, JC walked on water, let the dead bury the dead. Then you got Maryland, Columbia, Virginia, and they all line up. It's all masonry. Then you got sea, ship, ter, queen, heaven, life, force, man's, jinn, state. And then you got certificate, certified copy of an entry of ownership. So the birth certificate is a certified copy of an entry in their debt ledger, and the state's claiming ownership over that property. And so the serpent creepeth, the reptilian part of the brain, fight of the flight. Mary stands above the serpent. So the ethos of the Mary dynamic, the dialectic, submits you, brings you low. Because Mary was a parent, she gave birth to the child. So you go, oh, I'm the parent, I gave birth to the child. So you fucking follow you want to be like these people. So they get you to follow that philosophy, and you abandon your fucking flesh and blood. And then Jesus signifies Saturn. So Mary, the sea, separates Saturn from us, and the people from Saturn, said to be from the Orion constellation. That's where you get origin from, and originate, and original. And that's why the Aboriginals, and the Aboriginals aren't the originals, because original comes from the Irish negative group. They are the first tribes, and they stand higher. That's why they need to break their connection to the earth, break their claim. They're not nationals, they're not native, they're not Aboriginal, not traditional, they're not fucking Aboriginal, Indigenous, they're not any of this shit. And so that's pretty much it. It's supposed to be a quick one. I've got a couple more up in the grey matter, but hopefully that gives you an idea. The covenant, the dialectic of the biblical creation is all maritime law. It's all commerce. It's all getting you to act in your minority, which is an adult thinks in an adolescent state. I got this from a Freemason off Facebook. Thinks in an adolescent state of mind and needs a third-party medium to help him facilitate under normal circumstances. He wouldn't be able to. And minorities and adults and adulterer, someone who engages in a third-party contract. And so they've got to they've got to fluoridate you, mercurize you, soy you, fluoridate you through all the fucking toothpaste, water, all your inhalable anesthetics are all fluoride based. Your Teflon fry pan emits fluorine gas when you cook on it. They've got to fluor, F-L-O-U-R means light, and IDE means to kill. They want to kill the light in the cells. And then they get you to sign these unconscionable contracts, unconscionable bargains, and for an unjust enrichment. And so they're plundering your estate. Now, people want to access the trust. They want to control the trust. For me, in my head, I just want to fucking destroy it. Because trust comes from use, comes from usufruct, comes from usus fructus, which means they want us to be the beneficiary, and they want to be the executor, and the executor means to harass, and they come in and harass you. Now, magistrate, 1758 means an admiral. It doesn't. Let me tell you what magistrate is. So you got to go to admiral in 1758. I think Samuel Jackson's dictionary. I look at Barry Atkins anyway. He's got it posted, and so I got to save, but I got to look it up. So admiral is an officer and a magistrate in the King's Navy. So they've civilly conscripted you through the licence, through the electoral roll, into the King's Navy, into the registry of births, deaths and marriages. And to finish off, I was getting run off the road, I was getting harassed, which was forcing me to engage with the police. They force you to contact the police because the police come to your door. They said, what happened? They said, you threatened her. I said, well, what did I say that I threatened her? I tried to get her to pull over so I could talk to her, but she wouldn't pull over. And so I just gave up. I said, I got your reg, you got mine, you were at fault. I'm going to put in a claim against you. So the police turned up. I told them that. And then I said, I'm not going to swerve anymore. I'm just going to hit the brakes as hard as I can, and your people are going to come off second best. Because they get these fucking half-wits to do it, these $2 cars. I'm driving a Mercedes-Benz, brand new. I'm driving a Volkswagen Transporter, almost brand new. I'm driving an old Mercedes-Benz. The fucking headlights are $700 second hand. I'm looking at from the camera to the screen. So why would I be using a Mercedes-Benz to fucking... it's a van. It's not fucking cheap. The parts for a headlight in a van are almost the same price as what they are. Not the really expensive ones, but almost the same price as what they are in the expensive cars. That's what they get you in the parts. So why... And I never have. I used to get cars buying with bull bars. I'd take them off. And so they try and get you to say, oh, you rammed him. No, they pull in front and brake check you. And they say, oh, you rammed me. There's only 2 fucking times they caught me out. I was always able to brake or swerve and get around them. And so when you get around them, then they say, oh, you were dangerous driving. Why were you doing 140? You get away from me because he's trying to fucking brake check me. So whatever you do, you're the bad guy. Because if you ring up and make the complaint, that's the victim. Right? You see the copper in Liverpool Courthouse. And I said, I've got a recording. You don't want to listen to the recording. We want you to make a statement. So they want me to make a statement so they use it against me rather than listen to the footage. Listen to the recording. Right? And so she goes, we've got the victim on the phone. So she's already decided, based on hearsay, that that's the victim and I'm the fucking attacker because it's Mercedes-Benz and they've got a contract with the fucking ABN. They're both ABN entities. They've got a contract. They've got several contracts. So they supply the cars and then there's fucking donations and they donate cars and have these fucking... And then the manager from Mercedes-Benz, when he seen the cop, said, I didn't see you at the footy on the weekend. He puts his hand on him. Like, fucking, I'd even do that with my umbrella. So they're Freemasons and pedophiles, and they network. That's what they have to do. And so people say, you can't say that. Well, there's fucking plenty of Freemasons, and as a group, if one bloke is a drug dealer and they're all criminals, then so are the Freemasons. And that they like using our language, their dialectic. I'll stay on topic. So then I had this other woman. She was sitting behind me. I'm doing 112, 113. And the GPS is saying 110, and the speedos are always under, so you don't get booked. And so I'm doing 113, 112 on the speedo, and she's up my ass. I'll move over and let her pass. She comes past and then sort of stops and hangs there, and she fucks around. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't get upset. I just stayed on my speed as fast as I could go in this lane. This car in front of me moved off. So then I found myself in front. I moved across, and I'm 3/4 of the way in the lane. Next minute, I feel a bit of a bump in the back end. She sped up trying to stop me and collided with the trailer, and then fucking tried to say I was at fault. But I'm hitting the back quarter, way back. I'm like 6 metres behind the fucking car, or 5 metres behind the car. Anyway, so we swapped details, and then fucking she claims I didn't give her the details, even though I wrote it down and gave it to her. And we had rego, and all you need to do a claim is to fucking put the rego. And I said, you're at fault, you hit me in the back end. And then she tried to say, so the cops turn up again and say, oh, you didn't swap the details. I said, how did you get here? How the fuck did you get to my house? And we looked up your license plate. I said, why don't you just give her the fucking details? Because no crime's been committed, right? I know they've been malicious, so that technically that's a tort and a crime. But if in the dumbed down common sense of the word, no crime's committed, why are you coming here fucking harassing me? Why are you harassing me? Give her my fucking details and say this is the rego of the car if you want to put a claim in. But she can't because she hit me in the back quarter. To get back to the other bird, the police turned up, and I said, I'm not swerving anymore for your minions. I'm going to brake as hard as I can because I almost lost control of the truck. Wiped myself out, put myself in intensive care, the whole fucking lot. And this is Inspector O'Hagan from Brisbane Water Police. Now, Brisbane Water Police is a particularly nasty place because they defather. They fucking massive amount of drugs getting run through fucking Avoca Beach, right? Everyone fucking knows the amount of drugs getting run through Avoca Beach and that little fucking pavilion there, the little hotel on the side, it's fucking little Coke Central. And the bikers are running it. The detective, he's probably finished his time now. It was about, probably got 3 years left. He was doing 10 years for run. The detective inspector for the drug squad was busted from Brisbane Water Police running the drugs on the Central Coast. So he's doing time. The inspector who replaced him, some blonde-haired chick, was photographed in Bali with the fucking biker running one of the clubs up on the fucking Central Coast. And then I get fucking arrested and sent to Emu Plains fucking jail, right? You won't believe this, but I get arrested and sent to Emu Plains jail for some trivial shit, and I get stuck in remand for 2 or 3 days, so I've got to do a bit of meditation, and I get released with a biker from, you guessed it, from the Central Coast, right? Big, tall fucking sergeant at arms, fucking eyeballed me the whole fucking lot, and, I had a bit of a chat, and, he said, you got any cash? And I said, mate, all I can afford is $5. I said, I'll get you a drink, but it won't get you much more than that. So I gave him $5 and sent him on his way. And he was very fucking cagey. Very fucking cagey. And I just got this weird Masonic kind of feel out of him. He didn't seem like a Freemason, but it was like he was there for a purpose. I said, why the fuck did they arrest you on the Central Coast, bring you 110 kilometres down to fucking Emu Plains when they got remand? There's remand in Wyong. There's remand in fucking Curryong. There's fucking Silverwater. There's fucking... they don't send them down to Emu Plains, right? You got John Maroney as well. You got all these... Why did they send a fucking biker when I'm talking about the drugs, and I don't give two fucks about the bikers, but talking about the filthy cops? Why are they fucking sending people to fuck with me? So they create this fucking... this air of criminality, like the fucking the area inspector getting the D's to come down and say chase the kids off and you'll be all right. But then the uniforms turn up, they just write shit about you, allegedly fucking assaulted fucking or involved in chasing off minors. Well, no, the minors trashed every fucking thing in the street, and they're the same size as me. And one of the other parents come out, grab the bike and threw it. And I know what cops are like. I don't trust them at all. Like my first incident on a motorbike, and I wasn't even doing anything wrong, and it was a good cop, bad cop thing, right? And I told them to fuck off politely because I wasn't doing nothing wrong. And so what happened was you've got this paradigm, and then what happens is you're working, you're doing your best, you're fucking just trying to chip away, and they can't have someone who's got a strong mental outlook. And so then when you fucking when the Patrick Quick made the false statements and they police it, they come up, and it was either Hancock or Hagen. I can't remember if Hagen was there at night, Inspector Hagen. And one of them said, "We told you we'd see you again. I told you we'd see you again." How can you tell? Can you tell the future, or can you organise shit? Right now, Patrick Quick is in with the cops. I've done a clip on him. You're going to see it. And he perjured himself, recanted his whole fucking statement. I drove down the street and beat the horn when no one was out of the house and there was a couple of people in the doorway. Right? And then fucking beat the horn. Patrick said I raced down there. It didn't gel with the other two fucking reports. And then so he recanted his entire fucking statement. The other guy was drunk, and then Leanne was just some nice psycho, cane swinging bitch who fucking. And my missus said, "I'm not going to come to your trial and give you evidence because it'll help you in your case." So therefore, she was admitting, and I got recordings of her saying, "You either fucking signed custody or I'm going to ruin your life." How can you ruin my life? I'm fraudulently making statements. And so when they split a wedge between the man and the woman, it's like you diminish in their eyes, right? Women are very easily corrupted. I'm not trying. 99% of women, they watch. Why would you buy a fucking magazine to tell you how to think and interact with a man or a woman? Why wouldn't you go study a bit of psychology or fucking, look at the practices that make strong bonds and how to connect with people? And there's just fucking vomit is shit that women put in their fucking head and on their bodies as well. And so what happens is, so they brought her me down and their fucking me down and her fucking outlook, and then they said to Patrick Quick and the others, "We need to get him. He's got a criminal record. Big, we want to get him." Now we know crime means charge, but I didn't have a criminal record at the time. So the magistrate said they threw that testimony. He goes, "Oh, there was no reckless driving and there was no assault. So I was charged for reckless driving, assault, and affray. But there are elements of those actions. So there was no assault and there was no affray, but there are elements of those actions that didn't occur that gave him the elements for the affray, which is bullshit because there was not. I was assaulted. Patrick Quick come out of his fucking house, and he was the other asshole on the street running the fucking parties, pissing everyone off at the fucking disturbing the peace, as they say. And so he comes out, assaults me. And then he made false statements, said I crashed over the curb, there was no damage to my truck or any fucking thing. It was a brand new Mercedes. I was going to be being reckless with all my fucking worldly possessions. And so there was no assault. I was assaulted. There was no dangerous driving. There was no fucking anything. Leanne G, or Judge G, she was calling herself, fucking swung a cane at me because I said, "Why is Shani going off me?" Because I pleaded with them fucking 100 times, don't park across the road. They got a 40-metre frontage. And I said, park on our side, but not across from the driveway because I can't get out. And I scratched on the paint. So the whole system is to fucking turn people against you. And so then what they do is they come in and they basically say to your missus, every opportunity, it was like my missus was fucking fried on the Prozac. Her sister was prescribing Prozac to her from another state, which was illegal, Sarah Brownell. Her own husband said he rates her 0 out of 100. She misdiagnosed people, almost killed them. Thyroid problems, the whole fucking lot. So this is Sarah Brownell, Gabrielle Brownell. He's a fucking anaesthesiologist in Geelong, and Sarah Brownell is a practicing GP in Geelong, and she was given like coughs and flu. That was it, because she kept fucking it up. She's such a fucking brain-dead moron. Now you've got these people who think they have a high social status, fucking with people, and the lean process is going to bring them back down to earth. Right now, the other side of it is, so went into court, and when I got engaged Peter Proctor, he's literally standing there saying to my missus, "You need to leave him," and that he said that before anything really got crazy. I was getting run off the road. I smacked a guy. You hit me with his car. I said 3 times, "Move your car," and he was in my lane. Come at me. I smacked him, knocked him out. He come to, and he fucks off, and then I get arrested. Doesn't turn up to court. not awarded costs. So the court is combative towards you. They're sending people to ram you, to fucking run you off the road. They target anyone, especially to do with the bank. You take the bank to court. Everyone I know that's been trying to get their house back or gone to court, they've been T-boned, they've been run off the road. One guy's mum's been bashed. They've never had any problems in their entire fucking life. And so the whole system is designed to get you into conflict, to make you out to be the bad guy. Now, the police, when they invaded the house, they said under Weapons Prohibition Act, I'm going to deal with that with paperwork soon, they basically said you're not a fit and proper person. Well, fit means to shape, because a fitter shapes metal, and pro means before, and P-E-R means dead. Yes, a fit and proper person is it's fiction. It's legalese vomit. It doesn't exist, because a person is a trust or a fucking corporation. That's all it is. If you look up US code, which is international law, it's American. You're a fucking idiot. It's English and it's international law. It's based on Black's law, which is Crown copyright. All right. And so is a vessel in the United States is a person or a corporation or a territory, anything that's partly or wholly registered to the United States, whether it's a state, territory, or possession thereof. So anything that's registered in the United States, the government of Australia is a property of the United States. It's a vessel of the United States. So a person is a vessel, and it's all maritime fiction, right? So they come after you. And so then what happens is they threaten the wife, and they say, if you stay with him, your kid's going to become a criminal. And then when she's partially away from me, if you keep seeing him, we're going to take the kids. Now, if you put this into a documentary and make a book and video out, and you document everyone's name and details and fucking start a lawsuit, you bring it out into the open, they're like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. You're going to be on current affair, bitch. You're going to be on fucking Four Corners. So what they do is they shadow ban you, because I've got 2,500 fucking subscribers, but no one's watching my fucking clips. I'm getting like 200 or 300 clips or 500 clips, so they shadow ban me. There's a guy, he did a clip on SAS invading the Falklands, and I don't know how he did it, I've got to find out, but he said you need to get NordVPN and change your location, because his clips were being blocked in the western part of Europe and Britain, but not in Ireland. So you could watch his clips, and there weren't anything controversial. It was just all documented history. And for some reason, he was getting banned in the western side of Europe, all the NATO countries, except for Ireland. So Google are setting themselves up for a fucking massive lawsuit. Facebook's setting them up, because when you get arrested for posting something on Facebook, it's not for doing something on social media. It's doing it on a wire service. This is a fucking wire service. That's all it is. It's not a platform. It's not anything. It's a telecommunications program. It's the same as the program in Telstra that allows you to connect to people. That's all it is. I mean, I'm surprised Telstra hasn't brought out their own fucking app or domain site where you can just talk to people. Like, I can see my face on the screen and I can post stuff next to it, so you get the face and you can post stuff and you can put all your photos up. If you make it exactly the same as Facebook can't claim copyright, because I used to do web design when I was in the military for a bit of fun in the afternoons, because I was doing the physical. I wanted a bit more of a mental challenge, and the computers were just coming out. And so this is a cascade system. You got the index down the side, you get the header across the top, you got another index across here, you got each little fucking box is a fucking click on it, it opens it up. You can have a page right here with a video. That's just a basic web page. So if someone copies fucking YouTube or Facebook or whatever, they can't claim copyright, because it's basically just a fucking, even though it looks identical, just change the colours. It only has to be different by 15%. Just rip the cunts off, because they're ripping the web design that other people created. And then the idea of posting videos, that shit has been going on for ages. It's just that one becomes more popular and they go, it's copyright. Well, okay, that's federal. Fuck off back to the District of Columbia. Right? And they get you through the legal name, the birth certificate, because the whole system is based on fiction and fraud, and you manifesting the fucking psychosis in your fucking head. And then the cops pull a guy over in Queensland, and he says, I don't want to contract with you, and he mentions a few legal aspects, and he did a very nice job. And the cop goes, look, that's what you believe. Everything that cops rely on is based on fiction. The fictio created by, this is the maxim, this is the highest maxim of the court, because it's the first one. The fiction created by the court to get jurisdiction over the foreigner, because the court is the foreigner from the City of London, from the Vatican, from the District of Columbia, the 3 fucking city states, right? So they're manifesting a psychosis where they can rule us because we say we've got rights and the rights come from their paperwork. Well, that's slavery. And so when the copper says that's your beliefs, no, it's not. It's your belief system. You believe that you can slaughter the blackfellas, you slaughter the Irish, the Gaelic tribes, you trick them into speaking debt speak. When the copper said to me, but don't you use our money? I said, it's not fucking money, you idiot. It's free currency. It's military script. It's an occupation. Right? And so and then they go, are you the owner? And you go, yeah. Because I didn't know back then. So he's a Freemason. Little scummy little fucking highway patrol, skinny little brown-haired fuck from Newcastle up to past Karua, up the coast there. And so, yeah, basically he pulled a gun on me as well. That one in the video, when I seen him previously, was coming back down. I flipped him off, and I went to drive off. So he steps in front of my van. I'm moving off real slow. So he steps in front of there and pulls the gun out, points it at my face. And I just said out loud, I should do a clip on this, but I just said out loud, I should have done a clip on this separate instead of doing an hour and 5 minute fucking clip. So I said to the copper, are you pulling your gun out, stepping in front of him with a slow moving vehicle to fucking, to manifest the fucking psychosis that I'm threatening your life? So you're going to take your gun out and use that fiction that you created, that you're going to lie so you can murder me for fucking commerce because the license is based on commercial fucking fines, and you're not getting to tax me, so you're going to murder me? And as soon as I said that, he's like, he puts his gun in his holster and just steps off the side and says, see you later, faggot, and just drove off. And he sent me four fines, and they're all bullshit. Having the arm out, I'm not stupid enough. Give him the finger, that's not illegal. Give him the finger. He said, you had an arm out the window. Then he said I had a dog that wasn't secure. Then he said I had a box that wasn't secure. Then he said I had a load that wasn't secure. Throwing a fucking Mercedes-Benz with $250,000 worth of gear. I spent 15 years collecting this shit. Everything's bolted down. Everything's fucking... I can't get on the site unless it's fucking, work cover approved. You drive on a site with the bottles that aren't fucking secure. Like they used to say you can't get on the site with a dog. And I go, he's not getting off the truck, so he's not on the site. Oh, but the truck's on the site. Yeah, but the dog's not on the site. Oh, he could bite someone. I said, if you fucking punch him in the fucking head, and even then he'd probably just growl out. He's got a hard head. And they said, well, you can't come on site unless you fucking get rid of the dog. They go, bye-bye. And they start doing this. I said 2, maybe 3 weeks to get a guy out here. All right, short notice. And then they go, okay, fuck it, come on site. See, fantastic dog, mate. Come and say hello. He goes, I'm not going to talk to them. Anyway, so this is the thing they do, right? They fucking lie. Lie means shit lies in birth. It's idiot speak, right? They commit fraud. They perjure themselves. Yeah. So jure is to bind. So P-E-R means no jure, no contract. So they're talking outside of the contract. So that's outside the temple. Profane. So profane means outside the temple. Fane means temple, yeah? So Freemason said it, this chick on one of the clips. So I look it up. Every word they use of me, I look it up. Calculus, I looked it up, and they're talking about it. Lunatic means fucking from nativity, not knowing his status and anyway. And idiot means the same thing. Never knowing from nativity what they are and their status. So you've got the lawyer said to me when I was in Long Bay. I was starting to talk. So when I finally got to speak to this female lawyer who they just didn't want to fucking help, right? And she said, if you don't plead guilty, you'll be in Long Bay for another 7 months getting drugged. And the drugs were just fucking destroying my kidneys, destroying my liver. My left leg swelled up, my hand swelled up. They're not legally safe because safe means there's no adverse effects. After exposure, it took me 6 to 9 months to recover. Then they fucking hit me with a fucking MRI or a CAT scan, whatever it was, because I got kneed in the head so hard from Windsor Police. They left a lump on my head, so they sent me to the Penn Hospital. I said they gave me medical procedures against my will. So the doctor assumed powers of attorney over me when I clearly stated I'm not fucking affected by any drugs. I don't see stars. I'm not fucking. I just got a lump on my head. It's fine. And to poison you, they give you the CAT scan. They could have just given me a fucking X-ray to see if it's fractured, right? Because an X-ray will show fracture and it'll show swelling. But they decided to give me an X-ray, which is 100 fucking X-rays. A CAT scan, which is 100 fucking X-rays. Now, they're banned in Europe. They're fucking banned in Europe, right? They're evil. The Pean Hospital are murdering fuckers. The guy went in there with his missus, and they had the body bag out the front, and the doctor comes in, this is a neighbour, and says, Ernie fucking, basically she's got 3 months to live. And he said, get the fuck out of here. You said that 2 years ago, you bitch. Fuck off. You ever say that again? And, you know, fucking, so she came in and did the same thing she did 2 years ago, and she's still alive. And then they had the body bag out the front, and then and the wife's lying there feeling, you know, she's battling through the fucking chemo, and I tried talking to them, but you can't. And she's going, yeah, they had the body bag there, and Ernie's he's like 72, and he's finally woken up. The old fucker's finally woken up. I said, they're poisoning you, dumb cunt. They put a fucking thing in his gut so he can piss out, and they had a block in his pisser, so they, you know, stick a little screwdriver up there and clean all the shit out. And the doctor is saying, but won't get rid of the tube thing so he can start pissing all in, and it's fucking destroyed him. I said, do you keep going to a mechanic if he keeps fucking ripping you off on fucking your car? No, go to another one. Go out of the fucking area. Because the dickhead you're going to has got mates, and they fucking sit around and laugh. They're all fucking Freemasons. They're all pedophiles. Now go and look up Freemason Temple Penrith and Penrith area, and you'll see sovereign, Freemasonry sovereign, blah, blah, blah. Right? Why have they got sovereign on there? Freemason sovereign citizens? Because the cops are sovereign citizens. They're the ones walking around with the guns with no licence, but we have to have a fucking licence. And if we're not all equal before the law, then there is no law. And then if you read Halsbury's rules on law, administrative law, it says it's not law. So the police are administrating, and they're administrative courts, and they're all committing fucking perjury and fraud. Right? They're forcing you to become the name, identify as the name. Anyway, I'm waffling too long. It's supposed to be a fucking 30-minute clip.